Hey, it's Melissa from Wang and Dude Publishing. I'm the publisher and author at this indie publishing house. Part of my experiment to publish my own book, my memoir coming out in spring of 2025. This is a big one because I'm going to share with you the reference that I use for the majority of this process. Okay. So, briefly, when I was writing a lot and not really formulating anything, I was just kind of vomiting on the page, as we talked about. I did some research and trying to figure out, okay, what do I do after I'm done writing? Like, how do I find someone to print this? I had done a print on demand book called Whale of an Idea, still available on Amazon and Barnes and Noble. Children's book I did with some other people. And we chose to do that because we didn't have the funds to finance a book, because when you decide that you're going to print your own book in bulk, you have to come up with the cash for it. And that's what I'm doing in this process with this memoir. But with the children's book, it's an on-demand project because the idea is, look, you get it done, or at least this was our idea. We get it done. We go ahead and publish it. We put it out there. But one of the downsides to it was that when you print on demand, it forces the price of the product to go up. So anybody who was buying Whale of an Idea, you still can. I mean, I put the description and the link below in the description. But one of the things that is a downside of print on demand for me personally is it drives the price up. Now, we decided to do print on demand because when you decide to print your book in bulk, like a publishing house does, you have to come up with the cash to do it. And so that's what I'm doing with this memoir, is to pay for it myself. And the goal is to break even, I hope, on this. But with print on demand, you don't have to put any money up, and all the cost goes to the person who is buying the product and then having it printed and sent to them. And again, what happens there is the price goes up. So I have the link to Whale of an Idea. You're more than welcome to purchase that book. But one of the things that disappointed us is the fact that competitively, when it came to pricing, the price point was a little higher than we would have liked. But that's what happens. Now, if you pay for it up front, it's going to be able to be cheaper to the consumer. And so with my memoir, the price should be competitive with any other book that's out there. It's not going to be twice as expensive because I'm not doing print on demand. So that's the main reason I decided not to do print on demand with this, because it's a bigger project, which means that somebody's going to be paying way too much for a book and would talk themselves out of buying the book if it was way above and beyond other books that are similar. So I tried to research and didn't find very much. Didn't find anybody that was really willing to give you the nuts and bolts of how to do it. And I was getting really frustrated because it's almost like all I need, all I want in this experiment is somebody to help me go from point to point. Because publishing has been around forever, right? Self-publishing has been around for a while. So instead of trying to invent a wheel that's already out there and been going, I was like, surely somebody has something that I can follow. And I found it. I finally found it at my local library. There was a copy, one copy of this book, and I'm going to have to change my background so that I can show it to you. And see if I can do it in front of my face. But it's this book, The Well-Fed Self-Publisher. Oh, and my background's going to mess it up. The Well-Fed Self-Publisher, and it's by Peter Bowerman. Okay. He has another book about just writing, if you want to be a well-fed writer and you don't want to publish. But I mean, it was like I asked and shall receive. And Peter wrote this book a while ago. So it was something that I was like, thank goodness whoever either purchased this book or donated it to the library, but the Well-Fed Self-Publisher. I'm going to put the link in the description below. But I just wanted to show you the book because look at all the little tags I put on it and the highlights. I mean, so basically, Peter, it was answering my call. It was like, look, I'm going to write you a book about how, if you want to publish your own book and the options you have to do it. So he talks about on demand. He talks about printing in bulk. He talks about, everything that a publishing house does for the author. The difference with publishing it yourself is if you put the money up, then you receive the money back. A publishing company puts this money up to do all this work. And that's why an author will get a small percentage of the profit from each sale because they didn't put the money up, right? So the publishing house is trying to get the money back from what they've put out. And that's a lot of times why publishers will reject people, because it's like, look, unless you can guarantee me to be able to at least break even or make some profit off this book, we can't commit to all this work because it is a lot of work. I mean, all this is simply about what to do. And in the back of this book, Peter puts a self-publisher's timeline. And it's a checklist. It's a checklist of all the things that you need to do. It's hard to show this on camera, but see the checklist. And so basically, I was able, because that's what I needed, is I needed something. I needed a guide, a map on how to get through this process. And why I'm glad that I use this book, and I recommend it for those who are serious about publishing your own stuff, is there's a lot that needs to be done before you finish writing. So he has in his checklist 6 months before you finish writing your manuscript, 3 months before you finish. So there's things you have to do as you're writing in order to stay on track and to get the book out as fast as possible. Now, Peter, I'll interview Peter for the channel so that you can hear from him yourself. But ironically, and it's one of those things, I'm a Pisces, so maybe it's like, what? But ironically, Peter lived near me in the Atlanta area. I didn't know that when I got the book. I didn't know that when I checked the book out. And as I finished reading it, because I went through it pretty fast, but it's like a reference book. You have to like, okay, I got to remember to do that for later, and this for later, and that for later. It was after I had gone through it, I happened to look and said, well, let me see, where this guy's from. I got to send him a thank you note. And he lived in the same suburb of Atlanta that I live in. And so I reached out to him. I said, dude, I'd love to take you to lunch because this is fantastic. And Peter was very sweet to oblige me in a lunch. I simply took him to lunch. We didn't talk about books. We talked about everything else. But what a pleasant man, and what a generous thing he did to help other people. And that's what I hope this channel does, is help you if you are curious about writing your own book and getting it out there, whether it doesn't have to be a book, children's book, it could be a pamphlet, it could be whatever, or just knowing the process and appreciating the books you read more. That's kind of what comes out of this too, is it's hard for me to see someone throw a book away. It's hard for me sometimes to see a book in a discount pile, because I always felt that way. But now especially, it's like, oh, they put so much heart and soul into that thing. And I hate to see it here. So anyway, Peter Bowerman's The Well-Fed Self-Publisher is a great reference if you're looking to do what I'm trying to do. So thank you so much for being a part of the channel. Subscribe. Get notifications if you're curious about future videos. We're going to get some interviews going, and we're going to answer some of your questions. So thank you so much, and I hope you have a great day.